Clara started as a typical Irish rural settlement with ring forts, and by the mid-18th century its development was dominated by the linen industry. In 1825, Charlestown and Erie mills, located on the Brosna River, were bought by the Quaker business partners Robert Goodbody and Anthony Pym, and thus set in motion the establishment of the town in following years as a historically important industrial centre. The mid to late 19th century saw the industrialisation of the town with the building of the Clashawan Jute Works in 1864 by Jonathan and Lewis Frederick Goodbody on the western outskirts. Jute was imported from India, and in 1865 spinning and weaving officially commenced to produce sacks, with the employment of 82 employees, and by 1900 employment had exceeded 600, including 230 female employees. The Clashawan Jute Works holds significant historical interest, as it was the only jute mill in Ireland and the only purpose-built mill village in County Offaly. In 1873, under the patronage of the Goodbody family, 120 experimental workers' houses had been constructed, using a roof system from Portlaw. The philanthropic model settlement was designed for the benefit and welfare of the workers, and what remains of the Clashawan Jute Works to this day add interest to the surrounding landscape due to its rarity and river setting. In Michael J.F. McCarthy's book, Priests and People in Ireland, published in 1902, a question is posed to a small boy: who made this town? For which the answer was, Mr. Goodbody made most of it. The Industrial Revolution brought steam power in 1870, electricity in 1900 and telephones in 1904 to the town and its mills. Clara at the time epitomized the zeitgeist of the industrial age, a time when innovators dared to dream big and take great risks, by devising new inventions or finding ways to make the existing technology more efficient. The town was well suited for the textile industry, with the coming of the railways in 1859, which allowed for import and export opportunities and ready access to running water from the Brosna River to operate the mills. Consequently, Clara was one of only a small number of towns in Ireland which increased in size and underwent an economic, social, and physical transformation. The self-contained nature of the town meant that a range of services and facilities were established to cater for the needs of the ever-increasing populace. The Goodbody family provided employment and associated housing to large numbers of intergenerational families in Clara well into the 20th century. In the process, a social identity and cohesion evolved over time and cemented itself, based on a collective memory, history, and sense of place. Contributions made by the industrial heritage to the identity, integrity, layers, and stories of the town and its people, past and present, have allowed for the development of a living heritage and a sense of connection and pride. Clara was wholly dependent upon the textile industry for prosperity, and regrettably in the 20th century the trade declined significantly. In 1971, after 106 years, jute spinning and weaving came to an end at the Clashawan Jute Works. In October 1984, J. and Elif Goodbody went into receivership, with the unfortunate result in coming years of the mills left vacant and disused, to the detriment of the surrounding areas and the town as a whole. To this day, the townscape of Clara is defined by the bridges, derelict and rusting mills with Dickensian brick chimneys punctuating the skyline, and despoiled landscapes which once marked thriving industries, and it is impossible to visualize the town without them. In fact, in an ever-changing landscape, these industrial heritage structures act as aides-mémoire, subconscious indicators to navigate through the town and identify boundaries and margins not necessarily drawn on ordnance maps or listed in town development plans. Ery Mill, barely standing, has the honour of being the only surviving example of a roller flour mill in County Offaly, and of Charlestown Mill, only the grain store, which was built in 1853, has survived the ravages of time. Even in their current dilapidated state, they proudly bear witness to the once illustrious industrial past of Clara. Most of the industrial heritage assets in Clara are within private ownership, due to years of extreme neglect, vandalism, difficulty in accessing financial assistance by owners, as well as a sometimes inflexible interpretation of the Architectural Heritage Protection Guidelines. These historic industrial structures are at great risk of disappearing from the town and mindscape of Clara. Conservation is the practice of advocating and managing change to heritage assets in a way that sustains and, where appropriate, reinforces its significance. Inferred in the term conservation is the expectation and understanding that change is inevitable and most often beneficial. It is in nobody's interest to restrict and suspend the historic buildings and spaces of Clara as examples of a bygone era. Adaptive reuse, by means of contemporary architectural intervention and vernacular adaptation, will create an abstract continuity and add a new layer to the story of Clara's industrial architectural heritage and past, without compromising its identity and integrity. In the industrial heartland of the Ruhr district in Germany stands the Landschaftspark Duisburg Nord, a turn-of-the-century decommissioned ironworks and furnace. This industrial colossus has been turned into a place of exceptional beauty that celebrates and preserves the legacy of the city's industrial heritage for succeeding generations. As a landmark concept celebrating recreation, leisure, heritage, and art, it epitomizes an innovative solution to disused, vacant, and sprawling industrial sites like Clashuan Jute Works, with its beautiful underutilized mill pond. Such a development in Clara has great potential to enhance the quality of life in the community and contribute to the economic and environmental well-being of the town, as well as the county. Richmond Mills in Clondra, County Longford, was built as a corn mill in 1771 and converted to a whisky distillery in 1837. It was reverted back to a corn mill in 1843 and was still grinding corn in the 1950s. From the early 1980s, it functioned as a tannery but fell into disuse by the 1990s. It was referred to as the stinking old mill, and many in the village felt the best course of action would be to demolish the old place. However, there were those with vision and understanding, and in May 2000 plans were drafted and submitted for a proposed residential development of Richmond Mills. By means of contemporary architectural intervention and vernacular adaptation, the mill has been transformed into a beautiful residential apartment complex without compromising its integrity or identity. Ballyduggan Mill in County Down is an 18th century flour mill, ardently brought back to life by the owner, and is a perfect example of adaptive reuse. It serves both the community and tourists as the perfect countryside getaway for any occasion, from weddings to the best Sunday roast in the county. Clara's industrial heritage has amazing potential for redevelopment and could pave the way for a collaborative effort to make Clara a national and international tourist destination, as well as a great place to live and work. Heritage conservation is viewed as part and parcel of a sustainable green future, and the most carbon-neutral buildings in Clara are the built industrial heritage assets, a non-renewable resource which can be successfully reused, reinterpreted and adapted to suit the needs of the town. The Heritage Council of Ireland describes built heritage as an inheritance, a bequest, relinquished by one generation at their death and passed on to the next as a social and public good, essentially for free. Is it not time Clara claims its inheritance?